Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle Podcast. John Schmelk, Sean O'Hara with you. It's all brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Football Giants.
We're back on track.
You look revitalized after a bye week, O'Hara.
Got a little jazz, got a little pep in our step here. It's amazing what a little time off will do for everybody. The spirits are up. You can feel it. And 2 straight
wins heading into the bye.
Yeah, we're on a heater.
Yes.
Yeah, like NBA Jam. They're heating up.
All right, well, we're recording this before Brian Dabolls' press conference on Tuesday, so if word comes out after this gets posted, we apologize. What do you think they're doing at quarterback this week? Why don't we start there?
Yeah, great question. I think if I'm Brian Daboll, I don't have to make the decision right now, so why would I?
I would be shocked if he said anything other than, we'll see.
Even if you knew right now that Tyrod Taylor was going to be your starting quarterback, why announce it to the world? Like, there's no benefit to announcing it until you have to, and I don't even know if he has to. You know, I think the other key is, because the Giants, you know, obviously coming off the bye week here, you have a little extra time, but they're also playing on Monday night, so almost have an extra day of practice. Mm-hmm. Let him get through a couple of practices and let him, let's figure out, like, how is he? Is there any rust? What's going on? I doubt there'll be any limitations throwing-wise, but I think from a gamesmanship standpoint, no doubt about it, you don't want to do that. And also, I think that there's something to be said for when you have two quarterbacks and they're both splitting reps. It is hard to really say as a quarterback, all right, I'm leading this team this week. And you do want to let that guy know sooner than later in the week so that he can kind of just say, look, give me all the reps. Give me all the reps in ones. I want to get as many reps with these route combinations and protections and against this Green Bay Packers scout defense as I can get, so that when I do come time for the game, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, and I'm ready to go out there and perform.
I think it's an interesting decision, because if you take everything out of it and just boil it down to the simple fact of which is the better quarterback that gives us the best chance to win, if he's healthy, it's hard to argue that it's not Tyrod Taylor.
Agreed.
And what he's done, even what he did this year, what he's done in the past, that's your answer. But it's more complicated than that, right? Tommy DeVito has won 2 straight. Yeah. The locker room likes him. They're behind him. He has some charisma to him. So I want you to give me the player perspective here from the locker room. Are the players saying, well, look, we know Tyrod's really good. He should be in there. He's a vet. We trust him. Or the players saying, no, we're rolling. We won 2 straight. Tommy's playing well. He's earned this. He deserves it. We want to play for Tommy because of the way he's played the last 2 weeks. It wasn't perfect, but we won 2 games. We're trending in the right direction. How do you think that plays into this, and what do you think the feeling in the locker room is when you're talking about which one of these guys is going to get the start this week?
Yeah, it's a great question. And if I'm the starting center for the Giants right now, give me Tyrod Taylor. For a number of different reasons, but first and foremost, he's got a bigger sample size, right? Tommy DeVito's got, just a few games, so he's still learning. There's still things that, that you're going through some growing pains. If I have an opportunity to have a veteran quarterback versus a young rookie quarterback, I'm taking the veteran all day long for a couple of reasons. But one is protection-wise. Like I know the defensive coordinators are not going to try the veteran quarterback as much as they would the rookie quarterback. So you're probably not going to see as many blitzes early on in the game, and they're not going to feel like, hey, the blood's in the water and there's sharks coming after you. So I think Tyrod is more experienced in that, getting protections sound, making sure everybody's on the right page, throwing some hots. We've seen over the last couple of weeks, there have been some times where Tommy DeVito takes a sack or gets sacked because the hot routes, he wasn't ready for it, or he didn't see the same thing that the offensive line did or that the receivers did. So there were some misfires with that. So I think in the passing game, there's that aspect of it. And then in the run game, too, the quarterback is responsible for getting you out of a bad play. If you call a bad play in the huddle and you come up, a veteran quarterback will look at it and say, no, we can't run that play. I've got to check. I've got to audible. I've got to do something. Sometimes young quarterbacks just do what they're told to do, and they just go up the line and run it. So I think those are 2 big factors. The other aspect of it is the Packers have a really good pass rush. Rashawn Gary right now is lighting up the world. Preston Smith is a crafty veteran on the other side.
Gary's like a legit top 5-6 pass rusher right
he's phenomenal.
He's that good.
He's taking over games.
And he's going to be lined up over the right tackle for most of the game, too, which is where the Giants have a weak spot right now.
Right, so I think that's a part of it as well. Like, who gives you the best opportunity to get the ball out, not hold on to it, not have disastrous plays happen, and also, who can get away from that rush. I think both Tyrod and Tommy have shown a good job of getting away from it. I think Tyrod, when he stepped in for Daniel Jones, when he went down, he was very decisive. And there were times where he dropped back and he immediately just ran because he knew, all right, I don't have the right read here. I don't have the right play call. It's not, we had a man route versus a zone defense, this play's not going to work. I'm just going to run and get 3 or 4 yards. So I think that adds to the level of, look, this gives us the best chance to win. So, we'll see. I think for Tommy DeVito, he's got to prove to Daboll and his coaching staff that mentally he can handle whatever Green Bay is going to throw at him. That's really the one key that they're probably looking at, is who mentally gives us the best opportunity before the ball's even snapped.
Is there a group of players in that locker room, though, that are like, come on, we got to roll with Tommy, we've won 2 straight? Or do you think they have enough respect for Tyrod, what he's done and who he is, that there isn't that faction in there?
Look, Tyrod Taylor's won a playoff game in the league. He's won a lot of games in the league, and I think that always has more clout than just a young guy who's won some good games, all but against some inferior opponents. And I think you love that story, and you love the fact that, hey, there's some rhythm there. But ultimately, you go back to like who's won the biggest games and who's got the best opportunity to lead us down if we need a drive at the end of the game. Who gives us that best opportunity? And I think that's Tyrod.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New you moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Giants Huddle is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day to every day, Citizens is made ready for Giant fans with insights, guidance, and solutions. Learn more at citizensbank.com. A couple more things about this game, Sean, then I want to kind of take a look at what Joe Shane last week and take kind of a big picture look at the bye, at kind of where the Giants are at. This Packers team is pretty good now. It took them a while to get here, but that shouldn't be a surprise. Jordan Love, even though he's been in the league, this is his 4th season, I think, right? It got better as he got more snaps and more work. More importantly, he's working with one of the youngest wide receiver groups in the league, 2 second-year players in Watson and Dobbs, and then you have 2 rookies in Jaden Reed and Wicks, and then the Heath kid, another guy that doesn't have a lot of experience. And it really seems like they've started to figure it out now the last few weeks, and I think they made the national coming out party on Thanksgiving against the Lions, and they go beat the Chiefs on Sunday night. So let's just start offensively here first. They have very, very talented players. They're young, but they have ability.
Yeah, they do. And I think Jordan Love has been the biggest aspect of this. Early on in the season, he was turning the ball over a lot. Like, he was throwing a ton of picks. I think he was trying to force certain things. Christian Watson was hurt earlier on this year, so that kind of disabled them a little bit.
And we'll see if he can play this week, by the way. He aggravated that hamstring on Sunday night.
And Aaron Jones has been out with an MCL injury as well, so I don't know if he'll be available for this game as well. But I think when you look at this offense, they have the ability to make some big explosive plays. They can score some points quickly. And
I love Jaden Reed.
Romeo Dobbs has been, he's got some wheels. He's kind of been one of their explosive playmakers. And Romeo Dobbs has been phenomenal. And Jordan Love, they've kind of got that relationship now where it's kind of like, what you're used to seeing from the quarterback-receiver relationship in Green Bay, right? It was Driver and Favre and, Rodgers, when James Jones
Jordy
and
Nelson.
Randall Cobb and Jordan. Yeah, like you could see that trust. The back shoulder fades are there. There's times where, let's face it, Romeo Dobbs is not open, and Jordan Love is still throwing him the ball because he trusts him to come down with it. So
how about the touchdown to Watson in the end zone, where it was good coverage? He just threw it up there, and Watson used his athleticism to go up and get the ball.
And earlier in the season, that was an interception.
Right.
Now it's a touchdown. So it's the same throw, same read, same decision, different outcome. And I think that, look, rhythm and confidence are a huge part of this game. And right now, there's nobody more confident than the Green Bay Packers, as you mentioned. To beat the Detroit Lions, who I thought was actually a more impressive win on a short week. Yeah. Detroit is so physical. And the fact that they won that game in Detroit, that was a huge win. And then the Chiefs game, look, the Chiefs are not the same Chiefs that won the Super Bowl. They haven't gotten there yet. They don't have that same dominance.
Yep.
But I think the defense really, you have to give a lot of credit for what they've done. And they have not been great against the run, but this pass defense has been phenomenal, and a lot of it starts up front. Rashawn Gary has been, he's what Bobby Johnson would call a werewolf. Like, we've got to find a way to not let him wreck this game because he absolutely has some Micah Parsons in him. Like, you've got to find a way to crack him, to chip him, run some screens at him, give him something that has to slow him down because there's teams that are trying to double him with a tight end and tackle. He splits them. He beats them both. You try to chip him with a running back, he beats the tackle, then he jumps over the running back. So He's been a handful, and
he's almost a better. And the Giants have had a lot of issues with Hassan Reddick with the Eagles coming off that left edge.
Yeah.
He's got that type of athleticism, but he's got a little bit more size and power than Reddick.
Yeah, he's
too.
definitely more powerful and more physical than Reddick, but he's got that get off. That first step is really powerful. So, look, if I'm in that huddle, I'm begging Tyrod or Tommy, give us the hard count. We're at home. Let's use the hard count. Let's try to slow that down. So
chipping might not be a bad idea, though. Put Daniel Bellinger on that side and let him do some chipping. Have the running back go over there and help a little bit.
As long as Bellinger doesn't flex outside, because we've seen that happen too many times. Like, get Bellinger in there tight and let's put a vice on him.
No question about it. And, you take a look at some of the other stuff they've done defensively. Sean, they have some players in the secondary. They have some injuries back there, too. Darnell Savage is a good safety. Jair Alexander is somebody that's been battling injury, too, but he's a very good cornerback. They don't do a ton. They're almost, in my opinion, a little bit too passive on defense. You don't see a lot of blitzes. It's a lot of zone. They allow stuff in front of them. So I think this is a game where the Giants are going to have to be patient offensively, too. Try to run the ball a little bit, some short passes, because the Packers are one of those teams that want to keep everything in front of them, and they're not going to do stuff like the Patriots even did a couple weeks ago, where you're trying to do a lot of stuff up front and confuse people and try to mess the Giants up in terms of what's going on in that kind of box around the quarterback.
That defense, they've been able to do a lot of that zone because they've gotten so much pressure with just a four-man rush. Mm-hmm. So when you're getting and manufacturing pressures with your front four, you don't have to blitz. You don't have to get exotic. You don't have to get creative. You're getting home, and now all of a sudden all those interceptions and takeaways start to happen for you. So I think that is crucial. Really, third down is the key. What you're saying is be patient with a defense like this. What they're saying is we don't think you can go 13, 14 plays. Right. Like, we don't think you can go string
8
along
or 9
those
plays, really,
and
right?
go on a big drive. And the Giants, offensively, we have the worst passing offense in the league right now. So if you're the Packers defense, what threatens you really? Jalen Hyatt is the only guy that really is threatening to take the top off the defense or beat you and get behind your corners.
We'll see.
And then on third down, we have the
second
worst third down offense in the league right now. So we can't stay on the field. So that's something that they have to find a way to get better at. I think a lot of that is first down production. Like, if you're in 3rd and 9, you're not going to convert a lot of third downs. Yeah. But 3rd and 4, you've got a lot more opportunity to run quick passes, maybe throw a quick now screen and let the wide receiver make somebody miss. You have a lot more opportunity to do that. So that's going to be crucial. Third downs, you got to stay on the field, and you got to get some drives going offensively.
Yeah, and by the way, you mentioned Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, good player. Devontae Wyatt, good young player. Lucas Van Ness, we saw him have a really good pass rush against Kansas City. He's a young, talented pass rusher. So a lot of good players on that Packers
And Rashawn Gary's going to be all spooled up because, he went to Paramus Catholic.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a homecoming game for him, coming back to MetLife.
National TV audience, all that stuff.
Yeah. So we got another Jersey boy coming into town here, as long as he doesn't steal any thunder from Tommy D.
Giant fans love a winner. It's why they love Citizens, named the 2022 Best Bank in the U.S. by The Banker as the official bank of the Giants and sponsor of the Huddle. Citizens is made ready for fans of Big Blue. Learn more at citizensbank.com. All right, Sean. Joe Schoen had his kind of State of the Union address, for lack of a better term, last week. Want to go through a couple different things. One, a lot was made of what he said. We expect Daniel Jones to be the quarterback next year. Yeah. Who else do you expect to be the quarterback next year? Tyrod Taylor's a free agent, and if Daniel Jones is healthy, he's going to start over Tommy DeVito. So that's the obvious answer. The more important answer he gave was a little bit later on when they said, well, would you consider drafting a quarterback behind the draft? He said, we'll draft the best player. So to the point that I'm trying to make, much like Brian Daboll doesn't have to decide on a quarterback on the Tuesday before a Monday night game, Joe Schoen doesn't have to tell people what he wants to do in the draft 5 months before the draft when there's still 5 games left to play. So that's what I got out of that whole thing is that, I'm keeping my options open. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm thinking or what I'm going to do because you know why? I don't have to. And it hurts me if I do. So that's how I viewed that whole kind of big picture part of the presser.
Yeah, I think Joe could have started the press off as like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, it was the obligatory, all right, listen, let's address all this stuff, even though I don't have answers yet because we're not there yet. So
they don't know who they're picking, who's going to be on the board. I mean, it's impossible.
I'll be honest with you. I winced when Daniel Jones went down with the ACL injury and everybody was confirmed he was out for the season. I grimaced and I winced because immediately the outpour was, all right, that's it. Giants got to draft a quarterback now. And that makes zero sense. If Daniel Jones doesn't get hurt, he's the quarterback next year. Nobody's having that conversation. The fact that he got hurt like that doesn't change what you're going to do from a plan going forward. They just signed him to a monster deal because they believe he is a good quarterback. He willed this team to a playoff game and a playoff victory last year. So when a guy gets hurt, that doesn't mean that he's no longer a good player. And I think for Daniel Jones, he will come back from this. And there's nothing that would lead us to believe that he's not going to be the same player he was. I think, for Joe, I've got to build a team, not just for next year, though. I've got to build a team for the future. So when you ask a general manager right now at this time of year, who are you looking at drafting? They don't know because they don't know who's available yet. They don't know where they're going to be picking. And right now it's just, let's just get all the information. We're scouting all of these guys, and he's doing his due diligence. And look, even if they had 10 wins, he would still be out looking at quarterbacks. Like, I think you're always looking at who those quarterbacks are.
And he said he has to address the quarterback position one way or the other anyway. Right. So he's going to be scouting these guys. They might draft a quarterback.
They could very well draft one. And I think you have to look at, all right, where are we picking in the draft?
Right.
Who else is available? And also, if there is another team that wants to trade up, do I need to take that into account? Because the amount of collateral and the amount of currency you're getting for some of those top picks for somebody to jump ahead to take a guy that they love, that's a factor too. But I look at the draft kind of differently. I know Giants fans out there are like, hey, but we got to draft a quarterback now. That's it. They're off Daniel Jones. They were so quick to throw him in the dumpster again. Drafting a quarterback is not a sure thing.
And it's also not a one-year solution.
I think if you ask any GM, it's probably 40% batting average on drafting a quarterback in the top 5
That's probably high,
pick.
to be honest with you.
That probably is high. I mean, you go back and you look at the draft with Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield goes 1, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, and Josh Allen. So 1 out of those 4 quarterbacks is still with the same team that drafted them. So even if you go and draft a quarterback high this year, what does that do for you? This team is not a quarterback fix away from being a playoff team. That's not the point. It's not like, hey, man, like the Cincinnati Bengals, we had a great team. We just need a quarterback to come in and fix everything. That's not where the Giants are right now. So, people if somebody out there says, oh, my gosh, the Giants have to draft a quarterback with this pick, you could just basically let them know that you don't have to value their opinion anymore going forward, because that's not the way that this works.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
No, remember, you draft players, not positions, right? You draft the player that you think is good. You don't just say
even if you draft a quarterback, say it's a top 5 pick, he's not playing next year. Daniel Jones is playing. You're paying him to play, and you're paying him $40 million, so he's going to play. So you're drafted that guy, and you're not going to even see him for another 2 years. That's not good business.
Yeah, so I'm with you in terms of that calculation, and we'll see what the Giants do when they eventually do get to the draft. Another thing you talked about was Evan Neal. He said, most importantly, has to play better, something we've said on this podcast many times. Then he was asked about moving him into guard, and he said, I don't think I'm there yet. I went back, watched him at Alabama, thought he was good. Your thought on kind of what the plan should be for Evan Neal moving forward in terms of how you handle him, and is moving into guard, you think, a real option? There are some really good tackles in this draft. It's a great tackle class. So how do you kind of view what Joe said about Neal and how you would kind of handle his development here moving forward?
Yeah, if you've got a piece of furniture in your family room that is just it's not working, you got a recliner chair, moving it to the other side of the room isn't going to fix the chair. You got to fix what's wrong. And right now what's wrong is Evan Neal's technique. And so it doesn't matter if you move him into guard. It's not going to change. He needs to play better, and he can play better. And I think the big thing for Evan Neal is...
And he did play well at Alabama. Joe Shane said, look back, I looked at the tape, he was good.
He did.
And he was.
I think the one thing that jumped out when I watched film of him in Alabama was he was on the ground a lot.
Especially in the run game.
And that's something that you can you have to fix. You cannot win in the game in this game if you're on the ground. And I think that's something that he needs to get better at. That's an Evan Neal thing. It's not... He's strong enough, he's big enough, he's quick enough, he's athletic enough. He's got all the tools. He just hasn't put it all together. I will also remind people that Andrew Thomas struggled in his second year too. He didn't really start to balance out until his third year. So it does take time. He was a young guy. I think when you look at the fact that Evan Neal has been banged up a little bit this year, that doesn't help the technique. But it's all about mastering your craft, and he is not there yet. He hasn't mastered it. Do I think he can get there? Yes. Do I think he's still a tackle? Yes, I do. I think he's got the length. I think he's got the power, and I think he can handle that load.
No question about it here. one more thing on moving forward here, Sean, and this is how I kind of look at it. Next year, you're trying to build a complete team. I get all that. The way I look at it, most of your resources at this point have to go into the offense. I'm tired of looking at 13 points a game, 18 points a game, 19 points per game.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether it's the guard position, whether it's wide receiver, wherever you want to improve, I'm okay if the defense even takes a little bit of a step back. I can live with that. I need to see this offense function at a high level. Whoever the quarterback ends up being, and we think it's going to be Daniel, that's where my resources have to go this offseason. That's what I would prioritize, whether it's free agency or the draft or both. That, to me, is now you have to commit to this, right? Like, last year, they didn't have a ton of resources. The year before, they had no resources. But now it's time. Yeah. It's a good offensive draft class. You can find guys in free agency. You got to put higher quality, more talented pieces together on the offensive side of the ball to try to finally make this unit work next year. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, the Giants got to find a way to score. In this league, I mean, you just watch Jake Browning, on Monday Night Football, throw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they just scored, 34 points?
Yeah.
It's a points league. Every other team in the league is scoring points. The Giants need to find a way to get points on the board, and they've got to score. And I agree with you. I think you've got to add offensive weapons. If you added if they were able to get Marvin Harrison Jr., you get a guy like that.
Or even sign a Brandon Ayuk who might be a free agent, right?
You're going to have an opportunity to get guys like that. But you bring somebody like that, a playmaker like that, to the team, it adds instant offense. And that's exactly what you need to surround Daniel Jones with. Listen, this team is better offensively than they were last year. And last year they made it to the playoff game, won a playoff game on the road. And I think that this offense had a chance to be better. Obviously, Darren Waller's out as well. That hurts the offense. But not being able to score points, there's no excuse for that. And I totally agree with invest capital in somebody that's going to help you score points right now.
See, this is why I did my warning at the start of the show that we were recording this before Brian Daboll's press conference. Who do you think is the starting quarterback on Monday? Brian Daboll just told us. Who do you think it is?
I think I don't know. I think he likes to eat. He may go with a little of this.
Chicken cutlets for everybody,
Hey,
Sean O'Hara.
wow.
Tommy DeVito will be starting on Monday Night Football. Brian Daboll made the announcement about 8 minutes ago, courtesy of Paul Dottino's Twitter feed.
Wow. All right.
All right, so let's rewind now.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on the decision to make DeVito the starter, and then we'll wrap things up.
Yeah, so I love this happens after I just went on this soapbox thing about give me the veteran, give me the guy. You know what? I think this is awesome for Tommy DeVito. Like the fact that not only did he just win 2 football games for the Giants, but he won over the coaches too. And basically they're saying this gives us the best chance to win right now. And I think what he's saying is, the rhythm right now that the offense has, the confidence they have right now.
And his quote, by the way, Tommy earned the right to play.
Right. So I think that's huge. And look, if he struggles, you have Tyrod now to insert in if something happens with Tommy. And look, if he all of a sudden starts out the game and things aren't going well, all right, look, we got somebody that can come in there and stabilize things.
And I think you hit it. I think it's easier to go from DeVito to Taylor if you start DeVito than to go from Taylor to DeVito if you start Tyrod. Yeah,
I agree. And I think that the trust that they have shown by announcing that, especially this early in the week, is that, look, Tommy can handle this. And look, he's made some big time throws, even with a dirty pocket. He's shown the ability to, hey, I'm going to let it fly. And that's what you want. I think his ability to kind of process some things, every week it's gotten better. Every week it's gotten quicker. So the fact that he's had a little extra time with the bye week to kind of go back and look at some things and maybe even refine some things, improve on some things mentally. Look, the mechanics are there. The kid's tough. And I think the juice that he's bringing right now to the offense, it's tangible. And for Brian Daboll to give him that opportunity, I know he said he earned it, which I think Giants fans would agree with that.
And again, now you got both sides of the argument, and we'll see what the Giants end up, if they stick with Tommy the whole game. If he struggles, does Tyrod get an opportunity? We'll have to see, but Tommy DeVito, again, starting for the Giants on Monday Night Football. This is Jersey karma for you not supporting the Jersey guy outright at the start of the show. This is like the New Jersey juju coming to get you for betraying a fellow Jersey guy.
Yeah, and there's going to be a Jersey guy coming after Tommy DeVito, too. And
Rashawn
Gary. So the fist bumps better be all on our side.
Sean, good stuff, my man.
All right, Johnny.
John's Little Podcast brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. For Sean O'Hara, I'm John Schmelk. We'll see you next time, everybody.